investigating the mind. The root of suffering is what we call avijja, not knowing, or ignorance of the way things really are. This is the basic ignorance of not understanding our true nature. We suffer because of views and opinions, habits and conditions which we do not understand. We live our lives in a state of ignorance, not understanding the way things are. If you listen to yourself very much, you can sometimes hear such statements as, I should do this, but I shouldn't do that. I should be this way, I shouldn't be that way. Or that the world should be other than it is. Or our parents should be this way or that way, and shouldn't be the way they are. We have this word should ringing through our minds because we have an idea of what shouldn't be or should be. In meditation, listen to that opinion within yourself of what should be and what shouldn't be. Just listen to it. We have a tendency to try to become something, and so we set a goal, create an ideal of what we would like to become. Maybe we think society should be other than it is. People should be kind, generous, understanding, loving. There should be brotherhood and people shouldn't be selfish. The government should have wise leaders, the world should be at peace, and so forth. But the world is as it is at this moment in time, and things are as they are. When we don't understand this, we will struggle. So listen inwardly to yourselves, to the constant crying, I am this way, I am not this way, and penetrate this I am not with awareness. We tend just to react and take it for granted that I am and I am not are the truth. We create ourselves as a personality and attach to our memories. We remember the things we learnt, we remember what we've done, generally the more extreme things. We tend to forget more ordinary things. So if we do unkind, cruel, foolish things, we have unpleasant memories in our lives and feel ashamed or guilty. If we do good things, charitable things, kind things, we have good memories in our lives. When you start reflecting on this, you'll be more careful about what you do and what you say, because if you have lived your life foolishly, acting on impulses out of desire for immediate gratification, or an intention to hurt or cause disharmony or exploit others, you're going to be faced with a mind filled with very unpleasant memories. People who've led very selfish lives often have to drink a lot, take drugs, or keep themselves constantly occupied so they don't have to look at the memories that come up in the mind. In the awakening process of meditation, we're bringing awareness to the conditions of the mind here and now, just by being aware of this sense of I am not. Contemplate the feelings of pain or pleasure, the memories, thoughts, and opinions as impermanent, anicca. The characteristic of transience is common to all conditions. How many of you have really investigated this in every possible way while sitting, standing, or lying down? Investigate what you see with your eye, hear with your ear, taste with your tongue, smell with your nose, feel and experience with your body, think with your mind. The thought I am is an impermanent condition. The thought I am not is an impermanent condition. Thoughts, memories, consciousness of thinking, the body itself, our emotions, all conditions change. In the practice of meditation, you must be quite serious, brave, and courageous. You must really investigate, dare to look at even the most unpleasant conditions in life, rather than try to escape, to seek tranquility, or forget about everything. In Vipassana, the practice is one of looking into suffering. It's a confrontation with ourselves, with what we think of ourselves, with our memories, and our emotions, pleasant, unpleasant, or indifferent. In other words, when these things arise and when we're aware of suffering, we take the opportunity to examine it rather than rejecting, repressing, or ignoring it. So suffering's our teacher. It's teaching us. So we have to learn the lesson by studying suffering itself. It always amazes me that some people think they never suffer. They think, I don't suffer. I don't know why Buddhists talk about suffering all the time. I feel wonderful, full of beauty and joy. I'm so happy all the time. I find life a fantastic experience, interesting, fascinating, and a never-ending delight. These people tend to just accept that side of life and to reject the other side, because inevitably what delights us disappears, and then we're sorry. Our desire to be in a constant state of delight leads us into all kinds of problems and difficulties. Suffering is not just caused by massive things like having terminal cancer or losing someone you love. It can occur around what is very ordinary, like the 4 postures of sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. There's nothing extreme in them. We contemplate the normal breath and ordinary consciousness. We contemplate ordinary feelings, memories, and thoughts, rather than grasping hold of fantastic ideas and thoughts to understand the extremes of existence. So we don't become involved in speculation about the ultimate purpose of life, God, the devil, heaven and hell, what happens when we die, or reincarnation. In Buddhist meditation, we just observe the here and now. The birth and death that are going on here and now are the beginning and ending of the most ordinary things. Contemplate beginning. When you think of birth, you think, I was born. But that is the great birth of the body, which we can't remember. We experience the ordinary birth of me in daily life as I want, I don't want, I like, I don't like. That's a birth through seeking happiness. We contemplate the ordinary hell of our own anger that arises, the heat of the body, the aversion, the hatred we feel in the mind. We contemplate the ordinary heaven we experience, the happy states, the bliss, the lightness, the beauty in the here and now. Or we contemplate just the dull state of mind, that kind of limbo, neither happy nor unhappy, but dull, bored, indifferent. In Buddhist meditation, we watch these within ourselves. We contemplate our desire for power and control, to be in control of someone else, to become famous or someone on top. How many of you, when you find out someone's more gifted than you are, you want to put them down? This is jealousy. What we have to do in our meditation practice is see the ordinary jealousies, the hatred we might feel for someone who might take advantage of us or annoy us, or the greed or lust we might feel for someone who attracts us. Our mind is like a mirror which reflects the universe, and we watch the reflection. We used to take these reflections for reality, so that we became entranced, repelled, or just indifferent to them. But in Vipassana, we observe that they're all just changing conditions. We begin to see them as objects rather than a self, whereas when we're ignorant, we tend to seek identity with them. So in practice, we're looking at the universe as it's being reflected in our minds. It doesn't matter what anyone else happens to experience. One meditator will sit and experience all sorts of brilliant lights, colors, fascinating images, Buddhas, celestial beings, even smell wonderful odors and hear divine sounds and think, what a wonderful meditation. Such brilliance came. A divine being like a radiant angel came and touched me, and I felt this ecstasy. The most wonderful, ecstatic experience of my whole life. I've waited my whole life for this experience. Meanwhile, someone else is thinking, why doesn't something like that ever happen to me? I sat for a whole hour in pain with an aching back, depressed, wanting to run away, wondering why on earth I'd come on this retreat anyway. And another person might say, ugh, I can't stand all those people who have those silly ideas and fantasies. They disgust me. They develop this terrible hatred and aversion in me. I hate the Buddha image sitting in the window. I want to smash it. I hate Buddhism and I hate meditation. Now, which of these 3 people is the good meditator? The one who sees devas dancing in heaven? the one who's bored, indifferent, and dull, or the one full of hatred and aversion? Devas and angels dancing in the celestial realms are anicca, impermanent. Boredom is anicca, impermanent. Hatred and aversion are anicca, impermanent. So the good meditator, the one who's practicing in the right way, is the one looking at the impermanent nature of these conditions. When you talk to someone who sees devas and experiences bright lights, you start doubting your own practice and think, but maybe I'm not capable of enlightenment. Maybe I'm not meditating right. Doubt itself is impermanent. Whatever arises passes away. So the good meditator is the one who sees the impermanent nature of bliss and ecstasy, or experiences dullness, anger, hatred, and aversion, and reflects on the impermanent nature of those qualities when sitting, walking, or lying down. What is your tendency? Are you very positive about everything? I like everybody here. I believe in the teachings of the Buddha, and I believe in the Dhamma. That's a faith kind of mind. It believes, and that kind of mind can create and experience blissful things very quickly. Some of the farmers in Thailand, people who have hardly any worldly knowledge, who can hardly read and write, can sometimes experience blissful states, experience lights and see devas and believe in them. When you believe in devas, you see them. If you believe in lights and celestial realms, you'll see them. If you believe the Buddha is going to save you, he will come and save you. What you believe in happens to you. If you believe in ghosts, fairies, elves, if you don't doubt these things, you'll find them appearing to you. But they're still anicca, impermanent, not self. But most people don't believe in fairies and devas and think such things are silly. This is the negative kind of mind, the one that's suspicious and doubtful, doesn't believe in anything. I don't believe in fairies and devas. I don't believe in any of that kind of thing. Ridiculous. Show me a fairy. The very suspicious and skeptical mind never sees such things. There is faith and there is doubt. In Buddhist practice, we examine the belief and doubt we experience in our mind, and we see that there are conditions changing. I have contemplated doubt itself as a sign. I'd ask myself a question like, who am I? And then I'd listen for the answer. Something like, Sumedho Bhikkhu. And then I'd think, that's not the answer. Who are you really? I'd see the struggle, the habitual reaction of trying to find an answer to the question. But I wouldn't accept any conceptual answer. Who's sitting here? What is this? Who's this here? Who's thinking anyway? What is it that thinks? When a state of uncertainty or doubt arose, I would just look at that state as a sign, because that's where the mind stops and goes blank, and then emptiness arises. I found asking myself unanswerable questions which would cause doubt to arise as a useful way of emptying the mind. Doubt is an impermanent condition. Form, the known, is impermanent. Not knowing is impermanent. Some days I would go out and look at nature, observe myself just standing there looking at the ground. I'd ask myself, is the ground separate from myself? What is that? Who is that who sees the ground? Is that ground with those leaves? Are those leaves in my mind or outside my mind? What is it that sees? Is it the eyeball? If I took my eyeball out, would it be separated from myself? Taken out of the socket? Would I still see those leaves? Or is that ground there when I'm not looking at it? Who's the one who's conscious of this anyway? And sound. I did some experiments with sound because the objects of sight have a certain solidity. They seem fairly permanent, for today at least. But sound is truly anicca. Try to get a hold of it and hold it. I'd investigate my senses in this way. Can my ears hear sound? If I cut off my ears and burst my eardrums, will there be any sound? Can I see and hear in exactly the same moment? All sense organs and their objects are impermanent, changing conditions. Think right now. Where is your mother? Where is my mother right now? If I think of her in her flat in California, it's a concept in the mind. Even if I think, California is over there, that's still the mind thinking over there. Mother's a concept. So where is the mother right now? She's in the mind. When the word mother comes up, you hear the word as a sound, and it brings up a mental image, a memory or a feeling of like or dislike or indifference. All concepts in the mind, which we take for reality, are to be investigated. So know what concepts do to the mind. Notice the pleasure you get from thinking about certain concepts, and the displeasure that other concepts bring. You have prejudices, biases about race, nationality. These are all concepts or conceptual proliferations. Men have certain attitudes and biases about women, and women have certain attitudes and biases about men. This is just inherent in those identities. But in meditation, female and male are just concepts, feelings, perceptions in the mind. In this practice of vipassana, you penetrate with insight into the nature of all conditions, coarse or refined. Insight breaks down the illusions that these concepts give us, the illusions that they're real. When we talk like this, people might question, how do you live in society if it's all unreal? The Buddha made a very clear distinction between conventional reality and ultimate reality. On the conventional level of existence, you use conventions that bring harmony to yourself and the society you live in. What kind of conventions bring harmony? Things like being good, being mindful, not doing things that cause disharmony, such as stealing, cheating others, exploiting others. Having respect for other beings, having compassion, being observant, trying to help. All these conventions bring harmony. In the Buddha's teaching on the conventional level, we live in a way that means doing good and refraining from doing evil with the body or with speech. So it's not as if we're rejecting the conventional world. I want nothing to do with it because it's an illusion. But that's just another illusion. In our practice, then, we see that thought is thought. The world is an illusion is a thought. The world is not an illusion is a thought. But here and now, be aware that all we are conscious of is changing. Live mindfully. Put effort and concentration into what you do. Whether you're sitting, walking, lying down, or working. Whether you're a man or a woman, a secretary, a housewife, or a laborer, or an executive, or whatever, apply effort and concentration. Do good and refrain from doing evil. This is how a Buddhist lives within the conventional forms of society. But they're no longer deluded by the body or by society or by the things that go on in that society. Because a Buddhist is one who investigates the universe by investigating their own body and mind.